Welcome to Global Reality. Let's get started. Here's a belated but deep felt and genuine tribute to Dr. S. Jaishankar on his birthday. One of the most brilliant, most astute, and profound diplomats this nation has ever seen.
Excellencies, distinguished members of the General Assembly, I bring to you the greetings of 1.3 billion plus people from the world's largest democracy.
Dr. S. Jaishankar. The name today needs no introduction. A diplomat who changed the dynamics of India's foreign relations and showcased the entire world India's strong, bold, and direct stand on international issues. The man who bridged the gap between the bureaucratic and political leadership and intrigued the interest of every civilian in India's foreign affairs. Perhaps the first ever diplomat who has become a household name. And his popularity is growing day by day. He stands a cut above the rest, which led to Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi's faith in him, rooted in Jaishankar's diplomatic acumen and sound counsel on foreign affairs. Even in Sri Narendra Modi's first term as the Prime Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar is credited for forming the crux of Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi's foreign policy. If the then External Affairs Minister Srimati Sushma Swaraj, one of India's finest diplomats, who was also credited as the most approachable foreign ministers, was the face of India's foreign policy, then S. Jaishankar was the driving force behind it. They also enjoyed a deep personal bond. He was a quite solid pillar for Srimati Sushma Swaraj to rely on. The former US ambassador has been one of the most active diplomats in Sri Narendra Modi's government and has been steering the government's agenda around the world. His foreign policy also reflects Sri Narendra Modi's quoting the West and the East, coupled with Sri Jaishankar's nuanced diplomatic savvy responses. His whole career has been of serving India well, with some exceptional achievements like him being the longest serving ambassador appointed to China with a 4.5-year term. And then as a foreign minister, he helped negotiate a peaceful resolution to the Doklam standoff. During Sri Narendra Modi's visit to the United States in September 2014, Dr. Jaishankar stage managed the Prime Minister's Grand Madison Square Garden event, which was attended by over 18,000 people. The visit also set the stage for the then US President Barack Obama's visit to India as the chief guest on Republic Day. He also paved the way for Prime Minister Modi's visit to Israel in July 2017, the first ever by an Indian Prime Minister, and was instrumental in brokering a strategic partnership between the two nations. He is known for his quiet and determined style of negotiating, which is strengthened by his ability to speak in many languages like Russian, Hungarian, Japanese, and Chinese. He is one of those extremely rare foreign ministers having his independent vision of managing India's foreign affairs, bringing forth a foreign policy which balances national interest with moral values while being direct and polite at the same time, which was evident on many instances when he rightfully showed the mirror to US and pointing out the US and European hypocrisy on many issues. Here are some excerpts.
So, first of all, thank you for the advice and suggestions in your question. I prefer to do it my way and articulate it my way.
Not the one to succumb to pressures, but his responses have not just been quick, but fierce and effective too.
You're asking the wrong minister when you say, how long will we do this? Because it is the ministers of Pakistan who will tell you how long Pakistan intends to practice terrorism. Somewhere Europe has to grow out of the mindset that Europe's problems are the world's problems. but the world's problems are not Europe's problems.
This retort of the West will perhaps be the most favorite, not just of the Indians, but also of other like-minded countries.
Tell you that we also have views on other people's human rights situation, including that of the United States. So we take up human rights issues when they arise in this country, especially when they pertain to our community.
This will certainly make the US cautious of approaching human rights situation in India. This time, the rebuttal was not only unfazed, but direct and blunt.
Tell me if buying Russian gas is not funding the war? I mean, why is it's only Indian money and oil coming to India which funds, but it's not gas coming to Europe which funds?
A counter-attack on US pressure to discontinue Russian oil purchases, which became a social media rage.
If you are looking at energy purchases from Russia, I would suggest that your attention should be focused on Europe, which probably we do buy some energy which is necessary for our energy security. But I suspect, looking at the figures, probably our total purchases for the month would be less than what Europe does in an afternoon. So you might want to think about it.
He made India stand clear, once and for all, on Russia-Ukraine issue. We are not sitting on the fence, we are standing our ground.
I don't think we're sitting on the fence. Just because I don't agree with you doesn't make me sitting on the fence. It means I'm sitting on my ground.
He did not flinch to take a dig at the US and attack the US argument that it was sending the F-16 to Pakistan to meet the counter-terrorism threat.
Because at the end of the day, for someone to say, I'm doing this because it is for counter-terrorism, when you are talking of an aircraft like the capability of the F-16, I mean, everybody knows, where they are deployed and what is the use and what is their capability. So, you're not fooling anybody by saying these things. So,
Dr. Jaishankar recalled visiting a US restaurant with his son. When the restaurant staff asked them to produce their vaccine certificates, Dr. Jaishankar was shocked to see his son produce a paper slip certificate while he was carrying India's digital vaccine certificate on his phone. This was indeed a proud moment.
I went when they opened up travel to America in 2021, and my son lives in America, and I asked him, saying, we were going to a restaurant and they wanted to see our COVID certificate, vaccine certificate. So I showed them my phone. My son, from his wallet, produced a paper which was folded in thing and said, okay, this is my certificate. And I looked at his paper and I asked myself, okay, this is where they are and this is.
The list is endless, but Indians don't seem to have enough of it. But if you think he's all serious and businesslike in nature, here's a look at his humorous nature. Before we wind up here.
Normally, when the Prime Minister calls, you get a no-caller ID. This time, it was the Prime Minister. His first question was, Jagir. I said, sir, it's 12:30, what else could I be doing other than being awake? Because in his life, that is probably natural.
आप पर जब ये दबाव आया कि ऊर्जा न ली जाए रूस से, तो आपने पलट कर जवाब दिया। ऐसी चीजें भारत की कूटनीति में सुनाई नहीं देती थी।
नहीं, देखिए, मैं ये एक किस्म से गलत फहमी है। मुझे लगा कि लोग जो हैं, हमारी जो मजबूरियां, हमारी परिप्रेक्ष्य पूरा समझ नहीं पाए, तो वो अपनी दृष्टिकोण से देख रहे थे, तो मैं उनको समझाने की कोशिश कर रहा था। तो आप उसको इस तरीके से देखिए कि ये पूरा जो है, ये समझाने की एक प्रयास थी। अब
पर दबंगई दिखी आपकी?
कभी-कभी समझाने में थोड़ा जोर लगाना होता है।